welcome to the Mindset Michelle TV show. We're so super excited to have you joining us again today for another fabulous episode with an interesting and amazing special guest. And today we have the fabulous Gareth. Hello, Gareth.
Oh, hi, Michelle. Thanks so much for having me on the show today.
It's so fabulous having you, Gareth, and we're really looking forward to hearing more about your insights and suggestions. But for those of you that aren't aware of Gareth Benson, he's an incredible lawyer that specialises in an unusual and ever increasingly important area of intellectual property, or as you'll hear us refer to it, IP. Now, how somebody can go into that legal profession and then decide, oh, I think I'll not just do law and all of that wonderful stuff, but I'll specialise in intellectual property, which is the whole area around how do I protect my intellectual assets? How do I make sure that my valuable work that I do and all of that hard work that I do gets protected online? But before we get into all of that, Gareth, do you want to share with people a little bit more about how you came to get into law and how, more importantly, you came to get so passionate about IP?
Sure, Michelle. Yeah, well, I think it all comes down to ideas. Intellectual property is that area of law that actually protects ideas. And I have been an idea maker, creator, and innovator for over 2 decades. Probably ever since I was at university, I was playing with ideas. For me, that was in the creative field at first. I think, I was always ambitious to marry my passion and purpose together with my business practice. And that's subconsciously or not led to the practicing as an IP lawyer, but has also led me down the path of entrepreneurship. So in short, Michelle, it's ideas that fuse and bind us as human beings. And I'm very passionate about discussing all aspects of that around ideas and intellectual property.
Wonderful. And I imagine you were the bright spark in the classroom then growing up, full of ideas and possibilities and wondering, about that creativity and how do the ideas bring us together. Did you always feel like, sometimes kids when they're growing up think about wanting to be a fireman or something? Did you always think you'd be somebody that would be challenging how people think and looking at ideas in that way?
I probably didn't think that it was going to lead in totally this direction, because I was quite a creative kid, but then I think that's been an evolution of my purpose as I've continued the great adventure down, of life, and I feel that while your schooling and then uni, teaches you certain skills. I found that essentially I'm still the idea maker, but I've found a great power in helping others with their ideas as well, because simply it's accelerated opportunities to learn. So I hold space with people with ideas, but I'm also a maker and creator. And so, I think that therein highlights the power of purpose in what we all do. We're all given gifts, I believe. And that when we amplify our own freedom, when we share them with others and help others along their way. And so that's what I've learned in probably this period of time. And also, I guess it's a mindset for success too. Helping others along the way helps amplify your ideas as well.
It sure does. And it so nicely leads on to then, what do you for yourself think that success means to you? And I like how you described how, it was about your ideas and your creativity. And then as you kind of evolved and grew and become more expert at your profession, you realised that you also use that power for good and help other people with their ideas too. So out of all of that, what do you think success now means to you?
Yeah, well, I'd have to say it is about empowering others. That's what success means for me. It's about working on purpose and empowering others. And it took me a while to get that. But I absolutely believe that. I mean, it's 20 years since I became a practicing lawyer, and most people would say, oh, that's a symbol or story of success. But the irony, Michele, is that when I actually got there at 26 years of age, I was a country kid. I studied hard, and I wanted to succeed. But also it was, I felt really out of place because I felt like I was giving up an aspect of my identity at that time. But learning to marry the two parts of who I was, as a lawyer, but also still as that idea maker or creator, I found my purpose. So I'm now, very passionate about sharing that with others. And that also came to the foundation of releasing a book on the subject last year too, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But essentially, success for me, to answer your question, is about the empowerment of others and their ideas. That's what success looks like for me.
Wow, what a fabulous way of looking at success. And I really like how it expanded into not just for you, but serving others with supporting their ideas as well. So with that in mind, what sort of suggestions and helpful hints do you have for people about how they can also, especially in that IP space, create that mindset for success?
Yeah, well, look, I think this comes, or some of the reason that I actually wrote the book Ideology, which is about creating a compass to navigate towards success in the ideas economy. And Michele, in my book that was published last year, I actually identify that your ideas, your best ideas, actually come from your identity, who you are. And, many people will start a business for all sorts of reasons. But my belief is that when your idea is enshrined in your identity, who you are as a person, and solves a problem that is personal to you, one, I believe that you will have the power and the endurance to actually see that idea through. But most importantly, only you as an individual know about the nuances of that idea, and likely be able to come and see that idea with really fresh eyes. In my book, I mentioned Canva, the success of Australian Melanie Perkins, because she was a graphic designer who was fed up with the different tools that for graphic design. They were too difficult to use, and she set out to solve that problem. And boy, she did. Her and her partner Cliff Albright actually have now, in under a decade, created one of the leading platforms for design and for design in the world. And that became from her being a designer, knowing the nuances of design, but most importantly, setting out to solve a very big problem, which was the complexities. So I feel that that's probably a good suggestion, that if you are looking within yourself and looking at those problems that are unique to you, often can be the bastion of a really solid idea, and most importantly in that, not only lead to further fulfillment for you as an individual in solving that problem, but also building very powerful intellectual property. And so that's probably where I would start.
And that's a great place. I really like that, how you start with the individual and their identity, and really lovely way that you linked it then to Canva and the story, the very fabulous story about seeing the problem in your own industry. So seeing the problem in their industry, in your industry, and then is there a way of solving it, of making it better? And Canva is a great success story, an example of that, where Adobe Pro and all of the other really, really complicated graphic design tools that are around were actually designed, and they're so complex that if you're a full-time person working in that space, then yes, you can learn all the bells and whistles. But as we've become more and more of a content generation kind of economy, people don't have the time or the inclination to learn and become an Adobe Pro or one of the other software specialists. But Canva is something that everybody can learn in the same way that we're doing this, using different tools now that don't need that same kind of high-end investment. But that point that you so wonderfully make around looking in your own area of expertise, your own work that you do, and seeing what the problems are there, and then is there a way of improving it, and then how do you then protect your IP or your ideas, I like how you call it ideas rather than IP, because IP people might get a bit confused about, but ideas everybody would know. How do you protect your ideas about how to fix something?
Well, look, that's a really good place once you've got your idea. I think it's about, for me, in writing the book as an IP lawyer, but also as an idea maker and creator, it was actually about how do you build a boat with your idea, something that's solid that can then turn into valuable intellectual property. And I like to use the analogy of a boat, and indeed that the idea maker and creator is a captain of their ideas. And to be a captain, you need to recognize a couple of core components of intellectual property that need to go on your ship. And here is just a very quick summary. Your hull is like the company. It's the proprietary limited company, that separate legal personality that will keep you safe and allow you to sail into brave new waters with your idea. On top of your boat, naturally, you have mast. And a mast, and the first thing and part of the intellectual property that you need to protect often or not is the name or the symbol, a logo that goes with your business. This is the flag that you hoist high above the ship and is known as your trademark, so that anywhere you go, in any harbours you sail, other businesses can recognise that you are the owner of the business and indeed the brand and the symbol and logo that goes behind it, so you can wave your flag high. On top of that boat, and within it is where your valuable ideas and can grow into assets. And therefore, you need to grow your ideas into basically registrable intellectual property. And these are things like patents, if you have a new invention. It's also a design which can protect the look, shape, or ornamentation or feel of a product. Things like furniture or clothing designs. These can all be registered as designs, and can even be circuit layouts or software. Essentially, we all have valuable property on our boats and in our businesses, and it's up to us as the captain of our ships to secure your assets and secure your load before you go out to sail. And that is the story of ideology.
And what a wonderful, I love it. I love really simple examples, and that's a fabulous way of explaining to the non-lawyers, the non-IP people, a really lovely way. So looking at it in terms of the hull of the boat is the company and all of that, asset registration and all of those bits that you need to do. And then the mast on the company is a very great symbolism there, because that's the logo and the design and the symbols that you use, and very publicly are related to who you are and what your organisation is. And then the assets and the ideas, being that registered IP, so the trademarks and the patents and the designs. I think that this is a really lovely and fabulous way that people can, they love metaphors and examples. So for people to be able to go, okay, if I'm thinking about protecting my idea like Canva, I'm a graphic designer, or I'm a this or I'm a that, and I want to create something that makes my life much easier, and so it will make other people's lives easier too, then thinking about it in those three components of a boat, I think is a very clever, and well done you in ideology, a very clever way of simplifying it, so people can then look at, do I have those parts of my boat? Do I have a boat to begin with? And if I do, then what's my kind of pathway to securing those parts, just like the ropes and the masts and all the other bits on a boat that you need to secure to make it safe to sail. So making your idea and your IP and assets safe to then share in the marketplace. So well done. It's a very clever kind of concept and an idea.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually I have a copy of it here, because it's not just about the boat. it's also about the map.
Ah,
But we'll
so
get
tell
to
us
that.
more about the map, Lynn.
Well, the great thing is, and this is the point of time, and sorry to do a disappearing act, but at the end of the day, what I just wanted to share is a new idea. And in the book, actually, the end of the story, the beginning of the story is building the boat. Then you're ready to go on the journey. But in order to go on the journey, you need to have a map. And really, that's about the strategy. And so once you've actually secured your assets, your ideas, it's about having a strategy to market. And this is what we hear a lot about Australian businesses, is that they're great, actually, at even conceiving great ideas, but they have a very poor track record in taking it to market. So a lot of what ideology is about also then, once you've got it protected, is to value that idea, and then to actually strategize and create strategies towards commercialization. And so you can bring it to one to many. And actually in the book, I highlight 7 different strategies that are certain ways or routes, if you like, to a commercial success. And these can be such things as selling your idea or outright. Some people think, to build a business and sell the business is their end goal. A serial entrepreneur often may do that several times with several different ideas. However, a lot of people love their boat. They love their ideas, and they don't necessarily want to just sell the boat. Some people want and get to the point where they replicate the boat and build an armada. And that's where licensing or franchising your idea can go to one to many, where people actually pay you to build a boat for them, or follow your instructions in how to build a boat. And quite simply, that's another really powerful way to look at your ideas and where your ideas can grow. You don't need to sell. You can license, you can franchise, and you can even join with other boat builders or someone else with a different kind of idea and come together and build a wing keel, for example. So I feel that there's a number of different strategies in this that can help people, just challenge their assumptions around their ideas, and most importantly, build successful intellectual property, which means they can sail very far and wide with their ideas.
I really like that, having seven different strategies and maps and things. What do you think, though, with your experience, and you would have had a lot of experience and expertise to come up with the book, I was going to say boat, come up with the ideas and come up with the boat and the map and the 7 different areas. What is it that you think about the mindset of your work and the work of the people that you work with that helped you to kind of clarify it for you, helped you to create that mindset for success, that you were going, okay, I know these tactical or these tasks and tools to use, but how did you kind of formulate it in your mind, and when you were talking to others, go, oh, okay, yeah, this will work and this will make sense to people?
Yeah, I think it's about relating it back to the journey, and the journey is a personal one. Why do sailors wish to sail? A lot of it over the ages is that they were adventurous, so they wanted to simply create a better life for themselves. But not everyone becomes a captain, and even though many would aspire. So I think it's about being really clear about your journey and what it is, the idea that you wish to be a captain of. Most people would say they want to be a captain, but many don't have the, I think, self-awareness to conduct themselves in a way to actually reach that level. And so what I'm passionate about helping other people do is that really look back into their identity, as that's in their own backyard is where you'll likely find the ingredients for your success. Sometimes it's in your own personal narrative or story. Like we know, Melanie Canva was really about, solving, creating a platform for creativity, essentially, even though it was to solve the problem in graphic design. So I feel that there's many other great examples. Richard Branson wanted to make business fun, transformed many different industries, now over 5 decades. But he's created a brand in intellectual property that is about that, because that's who he is. That's his identity. He was a hippie in the 60s who started a magazine, to report on music, and then he started a recording studio. So a lot of who he is reflected in his intellectual property, and I don't think we should discount that ever. You are the most powerful vessel for your ideas, and so that's always the great place to start.
I really like that, and I love that concept about being the captain of your ideas as well, and you very nicely explain it in a way where it's all to do with, you know, that self-awareness, because as you pointed out, not everybody wants to be the captain and wants to have that part of their identity shared in that way. So not everybody will want to be a Richard Branson, but for those that do, the ideas that you're sharing and the mindset that you're sharing about, you know, bringing your personality, bringing your identity, even candor, you know, it wasn't just, as you so rightly pointed out, it wasn't just about solving the problem of, as a graphic designer, there's so many complicated tools to use. It was a way of also making creativity fun and making it fun for everybody else using the tool. And I like that, because whatever idea it is and whatever you're doing, bringing fun to it can also make it more interesting for people, and people want to, as a tool, may also want to be more engaged in it because they're going to have fun using your IP or your idea. Sure.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, it's like this relationship with self contains with it gold. And when you share your gold with others, then you truly become, I think, you have success, and you have a real sense of strong fulfillment. And that our ideas now, we live in an age where I think the search for treasure can be found in our ideas. Only 2 centuries ago, we were looking for minerals in the ground to bring us health, wealth, and perhaps even fame. But the reality is, nowadays, we only need to look inside and find the kernels of an idea that richly deserves to solve a problem in the world, and we will be rewarded. And so I find our ideas are the new gold, but moreover, we have that gold within us all along, and that is the reason for the adventure.
What a beautiful way of framing it. We already had the gold inside. What a lovely way of framing it, Gareth. I really appreciate how beautifully you're sharing these concepts and ideas, and that I've heard that before. One of my entrepreneur teachers very early on talked about how he believes everybody's sitting on this mountain of wealth, but it's about uncovering what that wealth is inside of you. And for those that choose to be like the captain of their ideas, the captain of their self-awareness, and captain of, you also talked at the beginning about identity, understanding your identity. So whatever label, and please choose your own if you're watching, but whatever label you want to put on it, but that choice to understand what it is you bring as your unique gifts and skills to the universe. And also you so beautifully tied it back to, with your own journey, the passion, you had the creativity, you had the lawyer side, and your crossover point, if you like, your passion point was actually doing this IP and helping other people with their ideas and creativity. So for the people watching and looking at, well, how can I do this as, building my mindset, looking for those crossover points. Again, what am I doing? What are the gaps and what are the pain points that we have in what we're doing? And then how can I be the captain of those ideas, and which ideas am I passionate about? I really love that whole focus back on the relationship with yourself, because as you so wonderfully point out, it's inside of you, and it's that uncovering who you are and what you want to do that will then help you to be captain of that ship.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Michelle. Yeah, in summary, I think that is. I mean, and here might actually be a final part of this picture that puts it all together. For me, I was always, as a child, and I mentioned I was a creative person, and I still am, but actually my passion was storytelling. So isn't it interesting that in the expression, and writing a book is a high expression of intellectual property, I might say. It took me 5 years to actually finish it. But the story about the captain and the ship is actually, storytelling is for me something that I've always been passionate and been doing for a very long time. And it isn't interesting that here we are, and that I'm sharing these ideas through stories. So I kind of feel like that our stories contain gold, and that when we really look within our stories, we can actually see perhaps small traces or glitters of gold that we can, over time, we're able to actually discover more. And when we really begin that discovery, we might actually find our story contains some powerful ideas that we can bring out to the world and share with others, that make and can be valuable intellectual property for all. So yeah.
What a wonderful way of pulling it. What a wonderful way of pulling it together, Gareth. Just so beautifully about the story of your life, and the gold that's contained in that story. I'm so fascinated. I'm sure people watching would love to hear more. So what's the best way that people can get hold of you?
Listen, because I launched the book last year, actually, you've got a personal website, and acknowledging this, that business is personal, and it should be, also for pleasure. So I started a website, garethbenson.com. It's actually a landing page for my book, but also contains a number of interviews that I've done with leading entrepreneurs, where we unpack what intellectual property is for them, and we unpack some of their ideas. So there's some resources there. It's also a place you can get in contact with me, because yeah, I have a number of workshops and that I've also facilitated around idea making and creation, and of course understand the power of intellectual property. So yeah, garethbenson.com, or you could always find me on LinkedIn as well.
Fabulous. And finally, I hear the creativity and the IP and the ideas and all of those really wonderful things. If you were to look back now and give some advice to your younger self, what do you think you would say?
I think, yeah, it'd be at peace with the journey, because the journey is the adventure, and all things reveal themselves with time. And I think the courage to go on the adventure is the most important thing on that journey, because I feel that many people stop before they start. Not everyone is going to be captain of their ideas, but everyone has the potential to be, if you're brave enough to leave the harbour in search of your true identity. And I think I probably would have tried to tell myself that earlier, but then that was my journey to unfold as it should. Yeah, but I think to be courageous, because fortune favours the bold.
And what a beautiful way to end up. Fortune favours the bold. And I really do believe we've uncovered a lot of nuggets, gold nuggets, as we've been sailing through this lovely session with you today. So Gareth, thank you so much again for coming on the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Always a pleasure to share ideas through the power of story, because it's the only thing we truly will ever own, I think, our own.
Our own ideas and our own stories. Well, what a wonderful, wonderful way to end the show today. And thank you, Gareth, and thank you to everybody watching. And I hope that you've enjoyed today as much as I have, and gained so many insights into IP and ideas and story. There's been just such a wealth of information and insights from Gareth today. But for now, from my heart to your heart, be great, be fabulous, and be you.